Good day, eh? My friend who's doing it live with me today and I were just talking about the fact that it's been this strange time period yet again, it keeps going, where we started to kind of move back to, I'm putting that in big air quotes, normalcy, right? We were unmasking and there was some anxiety around that. But I think we kind of got into a point where we got used to that. And now here in Walla Walla, we are a hot spot again, and we're having a pretty huge outbreak in the area. And, my friends who follow me in in LA, you're going back to a mandate to have masks on. And so here we are in this fluctuating time again of not knowing how to approach people. Are we safe with masks, safe without? What information's coming in, those kinds of things. So I just want to name it more than anything, because that's probably taking up some capacity in our brain as we move throughout our day. For me, I know it definitely has been. I shared with, I've been sharing with the classes and with just everybody that last Wednesday, I was with one of my fully vaccinated clients. I'm fully vaccinated. So we were in the house without masks. That evening, they went into the ER and were diagnosed with COVID. So I immediately called everybody that I had contact with after her to let her know. But guess what? The CDC doesn't say that I have to do that. Right. So I'm navigating, how do I move through this? How do I do it in a way that's open and honest and trying to take care of not only myself, but my community? Because over and over, that's what it comes back to me over and over and over. It's not about me. I don't think I would get a really bad case of COVID being as healthy as I am and with a vaccine. I don't want to spread this to other people. I love my community. Whatever your opinions on it are, I'm just throwing that out there. So let's see if we can't turn inward a little bit and start to calm our nervous system down if your nervous system has any kind of agitation these days. Find that long spine. Any position that works for you today. Don't let that be the reason you don't meditate, right? As always, my main request with that position is to be able to find a long spine. It is the main communication channel of the body. It's the superhighway. And as you start to find that long spine, what can soften around that? And try to soften all the bits and pieces that don't need to be contracted right now. And again, with that fear sparking up again for many of us, or maybe never having, I'll call it died down. That means often jaws are locked and ears are at shoulders and hips are contracted. And just remembering that when we work with fear, one of the main things that we can start to work with is that a majority of the tension that comes into the body comes from anticipation. Right? We anticipate these catastrophic. We have negative bias that's pretty strong in our brains. Right? They've studied this in neurology. But most of those things don't happen. And so if anxiety and worries, right, fears start to come in as you're practicing, whether here with the video, right, or at another point in time, can you take a few moments, potentially close the eyes, take a few breaths, and notice that you're somewhere else, you're in the future anticipating. And maybe you can bring the mind back to the present, back to the fact that you have this breath, right? The rising and the falling of the breath in the belly, or maybe paying attention at the nostrils. And then the mind wanders off again. And maybe it isn't all fear and catastrophe for you, right, as you do this. But if that's where it goes, again, it's anticipatory. You're anticipating things that most likely are not even going to happen. So, can you pause, take a breath, take two, and maybe come back to the sensations of that physical body? If there's pulsing, tingling, throbbing, maybe you notice temperature. And the mind wanders off again. This is the process of meditation. You are doing everything beautifully. There is no right or wrong, good or bad. The mind will wander off, and when it does, bringing it back to the present, maybe this time tuning into the sounds around you. And the mind will wander off again. And I'll bring it up one more time because we're talking about it today. But if it's that fear, anxiety, worry, they're all fear-based, right? Often anger is fear-based if you dig down to the root of it, irritability and anger. So if you're going to that fear space, knowing that you're anticipating things that most likely are not even going to happen, but your body will react as if they are happening, right? So again, we try to drop the thought, the pattern, the idea, and we come back to the present. And so I've pointed out 3 different anchor points. You've got your breath. You've got the sensations of the physical body. And you've got the sounds around you. All of these things bring us to the present moment. Genjo Marianello talks about the symphony of now, about taking all of those things in and not getting attached to any of them, but rather using them, right? Noticing them and using them to keep the mind right here, right now. And the other thing I would like to add in is if you do find your mind going to a place of worry, anxiety, fear, anger, notice if it changes the body at all. And what I mean by that, are there physical sensations that come in with that? Does the chest feel like it gets tighter? Do you feel heat rise in the belly? Does your throat feel like it's suffocating? Right? It could be anything. Those are not the usuals or anything like that. Everybody has their own reaction. And pay attention to that. Notice that. Notice that change in your body. And then maybe bring the breath to that area, or the awareness, anyways, if your breath could get there. Using the breath to soften that, or try to transform that back to a place that doesn't have that tension, that holding, that tightening, that restriction. And maybe those holding patterns, that tension, right? Every time you come to the physical body, you start to realize, oh, I clench my jaw, right? It may be that it's just this instance, just this day with this situation. But often we start to find these habitual ways that we hold tension, I'll say. And it's not good or bad or right or wrong. But when we start to realize, oh, I clench my jaw every time I get anxiety or worried, have fear, whatever that is, then maybe not only why we're in this practice, but if we're lucky, when we're not sitting down in mindfulness and meditation, maybe while we're driving or someone says something, we realize, my jaw is clenched. I'm holding that tension again. And maybe we can start to soften some of that tension. And maybe in that softening, we can open up to life a little more from a place of love and abundance instead of that place of fear and scarcity. So when the mind wanders off, you can choose to just work with the one anchor, just the breath, right? Just the sensations of the body, just the sounds. Or you can take that in as if it's a symphony happening all around you, the symphony of now. Let's bring our hands together in front of our heart. Inhale. Exhale, bow your head into your heart and just take a moment of gratitude. I know that you gave yourself the space and time. A meditation practice is definitely a hard thing to start up. So always, always so much kindness and compassion and gratitude when you show up. Namaste. And that clutch of fear, it doesn't just have to be about the pandemic. Anytime you feel that clutch of fear, hopefully some of the work that we went through today is a helpful tool to release that, so you're not constantly in this tension as you move throughout this life. That's my hope anyway. I come from it. I've shared that before, and I've worked a lot, and I've been able to release a lot of that. But it's taken showing up over and over and over. Be well, friends. May all beings everywhere be well.